up, everybody? Real with Omar. Special guest today is conscious leader Danny Morel. We speak about scarcity and abundance, something I like to talk about. He holds a seminar every 3 months, Awaken Your Higher Self. It'll be in the description below. Please take a look. Real with Omar, here with Danny Morel. Danny and I met, I would say, 2017 in person. At that point in his life, he was in the real estate industry, and he was actually speaking at a NAREP conference for us, and it was a couple of hundred people there. Danny, I don't know if you remember, you had asked, you had asked, where is it that you want to sit? And I was one of those smart asses that sat all the way at the front by where you were supposed to be sitting. But you were telling us more or less of, you basically get what you expect out of life. And if you set your expectation correctly, there's no reason you shouldn't ascend to where you want to ascend. Do you remember that at all? I know you've done a lot of things after that. And,
yeah, I don't remember that, but that sounds like something I would say.
Yeah. But could you speak about that a little bit? I have very similar thought patterns when it comes to that. I tell people you get what you expect. But can you expand on that and explain to people? I'll use one example that I've followed you and you've said where. Why would you buy cheaper food for your body, but want to buy label stuff in terms of clothes, something that's really kind of superficial, but then bargain basement hunt and go after the cheapest food possible for your body, which is really affecting everything.
Yeah, I mean, this gets really deep because I could answer this in one of two ways. I could answer this on the surface level. Or I can go deep. So I think I'm going to choose to go deep on this one. First things first, we as human beings have been taught since we were little boys and little girls through religion to be completely disconnected with God. We have been taught that we have to go to church on Sundays, that we have to wait for someone to save us. And this is particularly impactful in the Hispanic community.
Absolutely.
The Hispanic community is very easily manipulated and moved through the energy of guilt and shame. And that is why we carry an energy amongst us where, we work really, really hard, but we either spend all of our money or always in debt and we can never come out ahead. It's difficult to actually see, if you really are honest, a Hispanic that is actually well off, in physical great shape, spiritually connected, so forth and so on. And the reason behind that is because fundamentally, we have been lied to for so long about who God is, what God is, who we are, what we are not, and we don't know who we are. Now, in saying that, when you don't know who God is, you don't know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, you don't know what your potential is, you don't know what your purpose is, you don't know what your power is. And when you don't know what your power is, you don't know that you are literally the creator of your life, that your thoughts, feelings, and actions are the ones that actually create your circumstance. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions are the ones that are attracting into your life the money that you have or don't have, the love that you have or don't have, and the health that you have or don't have. There is no coincidence. There is no bad luck or good luck. There's just you. And that is a very deep and profound statement that for most people, they cannot accept because they'd rather stay in the story that they've been living in their entire lives. They'd rather stay in the story that it's the government's fault, that it's the rich man's fault, that it's, somebody else's fault. And this brings us to the difference in energies between victimization and personal responsibility. When you live life as a victim, everything is outside of you. Everything going wrong in your life is outside of you. Everything going right in your life is outside of you. And this is why we spend so much of our energy. Women nowadays are spending so much of their energy altering their bodies, right? Injecting their mouths, doing things that just 30 years ago no one used to do, because they believe that life and love and acceptance and validation is outside of them. And so they have to change the outside, right? It's the same thing with a man. A man believes the same thing. So he puts on the glasses, he puts on the gold watch, and he drives a fancy car, and he has to show everybody. He has to show everybody that he has all of these things because he too is disconnected from the truth of who he is and his true power. And so when people are disconnected from themselves, they're always looking outside of themselves for something to help them. Only when you heal and awaken your life can you finally remember who you really are, go back into your heart, how do I say this? Heal the trauma of the past, eliminate the story keeping you from your truest potential, and then truly live in your true power where you get to manifest, become, and have whatever it is that you want in life.
You mentioned trauma a lot. As a Hispanic or Latino, we were taught, especially in my generation, I think we're in a similar age bracket. Whereas, you internalize a lot of things that, men don't complain, men don't cry, men don't do this and that, and women do this and do that. And
Yeah.
I have heard you speak at other times with other people about the male self and the male energy and the female energy.
Masculine, feminine
Yeah,
energy.
masculine. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to say it
No,
wrong.
no, 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 no.
But please, can you expand on that? Because I think, especially for this new generation, there's so much disconnection and sometimes confusion
Yeah.
that I think that's why we're seeing everything that we're seeing in terms of like people identifying neutrally and stuff like that.
Well, even that gets deeper. Even
Well,
that,
that's why you're on, bro. That's why you're on. You're the guy to ask these questions to.
yeah. So even that gets deeper because, okay, we have to understand that in life there are two energies. There's darkness and there's light. There's fear and then there's love. And dark energy has a purpose and a mission, and love has a purpose and a mission, right? As a matter of fact, love has no purpose and no mission. Love just is, right? And so what you see happening is dark energy wants us to be disconnected from ourselves and wants us to alter and change ourselves because essentially the epitome of darkness is not being happy with who you are, with how you were born, with how you were created, and not being comfortable in your own skin, in your own mind, and in your own heart. That is the epitome of what darkness wants. And what is love? Love is the complete opposite of that. Love is being so in love with yourself that you're happy with yourself, that you're grateful for this beautiful life that we get to live. And when you live in love, you see kindness, you see joy, you see heaven here on earth. When you live in darkness, you see that everything is wrong and it's life is tough, right? And it's tough to live today. And I get so many of these comments, and it's quite frankly, it's as a result of all of the programming and the negativity that is going on right now on television, on radio, on social media, everywhere. It's so interesting. I had a Q&A the other day and somebody asked me, what do you think of Shakira's new song? And I was, I try not to say bad words anymore, but
Okay.
I was
Okay.
going
You're
to say,
conscious about that.
I don't fucking care. Like,
That's the question.
I don't know what the new song is. I don't know who won the football game or the baseball game. I don't know who made it to the big leagues anymore. I don't know what the new movie is out. I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything, quite frankly, because I decided it was about 2 years ago to completely disconnect myself and unplug myself from the matrix. And that's when my life started to change. And that's when I started to be able to see the truth of what life is. And then that's when I started to be able to help others to see the same exact thing. So when it comes to masculine and feminine energy, I'll start with your first question, which was, about men. Us men at a very early age, first, you have to study a little boy. Study a little boy and you watch him and you see how happy he is, how joyful he is, how much he smiles. You see how he interacts with little girls. He gives them little kisses on the cheek. He'll bring her a little flower. He'll play with the toys. As a matter of fact, he'll get nervous around her, right? Because he's filled with love. He just came from love. He just came from being with God, basically. And then he enters this world, and based off of who his parents are, he could have a father that teaches him something like, don't cry, or men don't cry. And instantly, what he's taught to do is he's taught to not be himself. He's taught to not be the truth of who he really is. He's taught to actually shine how do I say this? He's taught to actually negate that side of himself, the side of himself that feels, the side of himself that loves, the side of himself that cares. And it's confusing to that little boy because the one man that should have shown him how to be both masculine and feminine teaches him right from the beginning, I want you to cut from here down off. and I want you to live in the energy of the mind. And here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that most men don't understand that the mind is the one thing that is easily programmable. So that man that doesn't know himself goes out into the world and says, man, I wonder what I have to do to feel this thing that I used to feel, that I miss, this safety, this love that I used to feel when I was in my mother's womb. And the TV shows him, you need a new car. You need an expensive watch. You need to wear flashy clothes. You need to be the man. Well, then one of two things happens. A, for those of us that are living in the energy of desire and pride and anger, which was me, by the way, we go out there and we build
how long ago would you say that was you? I just want to give context to the story that you're giving.
3.5, 4 years ago.
Okay, so not that long ago. Okay.
Yeah, we go out and we build this massive business that, makes us successful, gets us the car, gets us the clothes, right?
The things you think you need.
Gets us the watches, gets us everything that society and the system tells us you need. And then one day, guess what you realize? Holy shit, I am completely miserable. Why? Because you've been looking for the answers outside of you. You've been looking for love and validation outside of you. You've been looking for something that all along can be found in the one place you as a man have never looked, and that is in your heart.
I think I'll say this to that. In terms of business, a lot of things we tend to do is almost for social indication of success. Like there's certain times that you think, hey, I drive a nice car, right? I'm guilty. But when I pull up to a meeting or I pull up to a site visit or whatever, I feel that it talks for me a little. There's a lot less that I have to say for me to be accredited walking into, and I'm just talking about business now. I'm not talking about happiness. I know what these things are. I believe I know what I'm using them for. But the big statement will be that none of that is tied to my inherent happiness. To me, it's just a vehicle, right? What do you think about that? Do you think I'm on the wrong course with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be that guy.
Yeah.
To be honest, I used to be that guy. And to be fair, man, it depends the business and the industry that you're in.
Right.
Right? Because for example, I remember I used to be in real estate. And I remember in real estate, we were taught to wear a suit, wear a tie, wear a shirt, get dressed up every single day.
Right.
And I always used to think this thought, always. But Steve Jobs doesn't do any of that.
Right.
And Steve Jobs is richer and wealthier than anyone that I know in real estate. So what's that all about? But anyways, I just followed the program, right? I just kind of kept doing what I did. Sure enough, when I would pull up in my S-Class 500 or whatever car I was driving, or the 7 Series, or it doesn't matter, right? I was in an industry, listen to me very carefully, I was in an industry where the energy, the vibration of the energy was very low. And I'm going to explain to you why, and absolutely. This might offend some people, but I'm just going to tell you the truth.
That's what we're here for, Danny.
Yeah, because you see, the only way you'll ever grow and heal your heart and change your life is if you hear the truth and if you're open to the truth, right?
Right.
And by the way, I'm not talking to my truth. I'm talking about universal truth here. So watch. So if I'm a man, if I'm in an industry, like for me, I was in Rancho Cucamonga real estate, right? Southern California real estate. There's some pockets of areas like Downey, California, sometimes LA, Rancho Cucamonga. There's pockets of area where there's this energy in where if you go to a meeting, if you go to a NAREP, if you go to a award ceremony, you could just close your eyes and feel it. Everyone's trying to one-up each other.
Understood, yeah.
Yes or no?
I agree. We can go into a whole different conversation about all these award ceremonies for things that don't really matter, but I'll stay there with you.
Let's go into this into the spirituality and the energy of it, right? Everyone's trying to get the best suit.
Right.
Everyone's trying to show up in the best car. It's this facade that we lived in. That, by the way, I was the king of it. The king of it. And I can say I was the king of it because the more you have to show, the more empty you are inside. Because when you truly know who you are, you don't have to show anything. You don't have to show anything, right? And that's why today I'm just like chilling because I healed all of that inside of me. So then if you're in an industry and you're doing work where that's important, yeah, I validate your point. I could see, yeah, how you would say that if I drive up in a nice car, then then it says something for me. But I'm going to challenge you in this. Even that is a thought.
Okay.
And even that, there's an energy to it that you may or may not realize is impacting you in other ways in your life. Because what you're also saying is the following without saying it. If I don't drive up with a nice car, then it says something about me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with what you're saying because
Right?
you thought of less than
Well, no. You think of yourself as
as less
less than.
than. Okay.
You see, that's the whole game right there.
Right.
The whole game is if there is any indication that you need anything in your life to feel validation, acceptance, love, admiration, then what you're also saying is that without it, you're nothing. To the deepest core of that conversation, that's what you're saying. It's like I remember I used to have this gold Rolex. This was the only watch that I kept from back in the day.
You've told that story. Not I'm not going to stop you, but I remember you talking about that time when you were interviewing Kobe Bryant,
Yeah,
and you're looking
yeah,
at he has a iWatch on, and you have
right.
like this $100,000 chocolate Rolex on, and you're like, yo, what the fuck? What do I have this on for? You're like,
But
go
it gets
ahead.
even deeper than that.
Well, yeah,
It gets
but
even deeper.
just to show you that I'm a student of what you're putting out
Appreciate
there. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that. Yeah. I was interviewing Kobe Bryant, and this moment changed my life forever. I was interviewing Kobe Bryant, and at the time, I used to get acceptance and validation from the external world because I didn't know who I was. And so during that interview, I was wearing a chocolate gold Rolex, right? And as I walk up on stage and I sit down with him and I'm having a conversation with him, I have a very spiritual moment in where I notice his watch. And here's Kobe Bryant, a man that is worth at the time probably 100 times more than
Right.
me, right?
17-time All-Star, 5-time world champion. I mean, like, really give it the context. You're like, this guy has done shit, right?
I mean, here's Kobe Bryant,
Right.
the man, right? And he's sitting next to me and he's wearing an Apple Watch. And I look at his wrist and I'm interviewing him thinking, and I look at my wrist thinking, wait a minute, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing? And that's the moment where I realized, oh my God, like there's some things I need to heal in myself. Because here's a man that obviously has grown past him needing to look a certain way because he discovered who he really was. And that light shined the light on my heart. And that's when my journey began with separating myself from the external world and separating myself from needing validation from the external world. And I'll never forget this. I put the Rolex away. I put it in my safe. I didn't wear it for like 4 months. I started doing work with ayahuasca and plant medicine. And one day a friend invited me to Beverly Hills, to my favorite restaurant, Spoggy's in Beverly Hills. And in that moment, here's what I thought. I thought to myself, I haven't worn the watch in a while. I'm going to go get it. And I stood at the safe. And as I opened the door, I heard God's voice ask me very clearly, Danny, why do you need that watch? And I literally said, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. I just want to wear the watch. Just let me wear the watch, please. When you go like, ah, la, 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 that was me, right?
We don't have time for this.
And God goes, no, answer. Why do you need the watch? And I go, because I want to feel accepted. Why? Because I'm going into a room with a lot of wealthy people. What else? And this is where it really hit me. Because they're white and I'm not.
Ooh. Wow.
And I thought, keep going. And I heard the voice and it said, keep going. And it said, and if I don't wear this, I'm going to feel less than them. And then the voice said, and where did you learn that from? And I just started crying. And I learned it when I was young. I learned it as a little boy. It was a program. And then the voice said, "Are you ready to let it go?" And then I said, "Yes, God, I'm ready to let it go forever. I don't want to live like this anymore." And then God said, "Perfect, sell the watch." And I was like, no, 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 no. But
You
it
jumped
means
away
so
from the
much to
safe.
me, and it's so nice, and it's so beautiful, and it's an investment. It's going to be worth more in the later. And my ego just ran amok, trying to keep me from
Trying to
doing the thing
legitimize
that
it.
I knew my soul needed me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I sold the watch, because I realized the control that the outside world had over my heart. And I realized and decided in that moment as a man that it would no longer have any control over me again.
Let me present this question to you then. All right. I'm not challenging you, but I do see a question that's kind of like jumping out at me. Right. I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong. You can only, let's say you're awakening the higher self. That's where you're at right now. But I feel that you had to reach a certain level of success to be able to say, yo, I'm on top of the mountain, but this is not what I thought it was supposed to be. This is not what it's supposed to feel like, right? So this is all to the other, because there's this whole culture of, guys are trying to ascend, right? Trying to reach a certain level, right? I'm me also. I'm an investor. I'm doing all types of things. And I don't want to say I've had a moment like that you've had. But I will say that as I ascend to certain levels, I start looking down. I'm like, yo, all right, so that wasn't really that important back then. But at the moment, before I reached a certain level of success, to me, it was super important. But in retrospect, like hindsight's 2020, you look back like, But then the question becomes, well, you can only have that perspective after you've accomplished something.
No,
No? Okay. Yeah, then that's the question.
no, you can only have that perspective when there's unhealed trauma in your life.
Unhealed trauma.
Because you see, listen, if as a little boy you were perfectly loved, cared for, and you had a great father example, a great loving mother, then there's nothing outside of you that you need to validate. There's nothing outside of you that you need. And so what happens is that a little boy has trauma in his heart, and that trauma causes him to not feel like he is enough. And when he is at not enough, he has to go prove something. And this is the problem with most men today. Most men that are building businesses are not building them for the reasons they should be building them. You build a business to free your life. You build a business to free your mind, heart, soul, and body. You build a business to bring back value to humanity. You build a business to share your love and your giftings with the world. And as a result of that, the energy of the universe pays you back in this thing we called here in the third dimension called money. That's why you build a business. But men are building businesses today because they have been told that if they don't have the sunglasses and the gold watch and the Ferrari and the big house, they can't ever get the girl. But let's go a little bit deeper with this one. What kind of a girl are you gonna get when you have all of that stuff? You're gonna get a girl that vibrates at that same energy and that wants that stuff. In other words, when you're not connected to your heart, you attract someone who is also not connected to their heart. And so the real man goes out there and builds a business simply for the sake of building himself the financial defenses and fortresses that he needs in order to live life on his terms. He doesn't have to show anything to anybody. He doesn't have to wear certain clothes. He doesn't have to drive a certain car. He gets to if he wants to, but there's no energy attached to it because he is not defined by it. And as a result of that energy, guess who he draws in? He draws in his soul's mate.
Right.
He draws in his heart's mate. He draws in a heart that is in the same energy as he is. And that's when a man gets to live in abundance. When he has built financial freedom for himself, where he takes care of himself physically in his body, and when he lives in a truly loving relationship.
You have loving, right? It's a statement you made. And then we have also building ourselves physically, financially, mentally, spiritually. And some of that, like some people, and again, it depends on who you ask, right? Some people see some of those things as being almost self-centered or selfish. But I'm a true believer of you can't attract the person you want until you're the person you're supposed to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
how would you attract a high value woman unless you are of high value?
High value man.
Once in a while, you get the guy who gets super lucky, but you want to talk about it. Go ahead.
Let's identify first what a real high value human being is.
Absolutely.
Because when you're stuck in the system, then a high value human being is right now, as a man, a high value woman is someone that doesn't know herself. Because the Kardashians are the ones that ushered in this new state of programming for women.
Right.
And so now you see women who, unfortunately, they're seeking so much attention from the outside world that they're changing everything about themselves, that their Instagram is filled with pictures of themselves. It breaks my heart, literally, that they're literally posing, using their bodies to literally gain the energy and the validation of men. But it's the same thing for women. Because for a woman, the outside world teaches us that a man is the guy that has all of these things, right? It's the dark sunglasses, it's the car, and that man has to show you on social media that he has it. The same thing with the woman. The woman has to show you on social media that they have it. The problem is that when you live in that energy, the energy of needing to show the world that you have something, that is a tell-all sign for one thing, and that is that you do not know who you are not living in peace, and you are deeply and miserably unhappy. Because happiness doesn't need to show anything. Happiness simply is. And so what is a high value human being in my eyes? A high value human being is a human being that knows themselves, that is not moved by society, that doesn't care about the outside world. In my eyes, a high value human being is someone that is centered, that can control their energy. A high value human being is someone that I can live with, that every other conversation doesn't turn into an argument because they're emotionally unstable and they're still living from the woundings of when they were a little boy and a little girl, and they have to constantly defend themselves. I don't want that kind of stressful life. Mm-hmm. Because life is too short. As a matter of fact, I hate saying that because life is too beautiful.
Yeah.
So if life is too beautiful, why spend your life with someone who doesn't know themselves? Because that is going to cause, and this is one thing my mentor, Dr. Meltzer, told me. He says, Danny, if you're in a relationship and a loving relationship where you're not in love or they're not in love with you, that is going to cause unnecessary stress and complications such as even illness to your life that is completely avoidable.
So we're talking about the energy, how energy can transcend and manifest itself into physical manifestations.
Brother, right. I mean,
no, I'm with you. Listen. I think it's totally all related. I want to let me just say, I don't want to dumb it down. I want to make it more digestible for somebody who's just walking into a conversation that you and I are having.
Yeah, I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example. And by the way, I have probably hundreds of examples like this.
Okay.
But I'll give you one. There was a woman that when I met her, we started working together. And when I met her, she was in a cane and she was taking about 40 pills a day. Relationship was in shambles. Health was in shambles. Everything was in shambles. What we ended up discovering was that she was sexually abused when she was a little girl. Sexually abused by an uncle. And when she went and told the mother actually, instead of defending her and protecting her, rejected her and said there's no way that could happen. Do you know what kind of trauma that causes for a little girl?
Do you know how much that story resonates with the Latino community? I mean, I don't want to talk about, you know what I'm saying? Like, that story is not isolated. That story is everywhere in a certain generation. Yeah.
Right. So listen, right? The trauma that creates in a little girl, the unsafety that creates in a little girl, right? The mental plague that little girl has to live with, and not just in the mind, because most people don't understand. We have three brains: the mind, the heart, and the gut, which is the body, right? Mm-hmm. And so we started working with her, and I'll say it, she did some ceremonies with us. And this is like a year later, no more pills, no more cane. Marriage is back to normal. And she's finally back in her heart. Why? Because that is the healing journey that we as human beings get to go on, regardless of what happened in the past. And if we look at ourselves in a loving capacity, sometimes what happens in the past is the very thing that brings us to the healing that we need in order to reconnect with our hearts. But that takes courage, because healing takes courage. And everything you've ever wanted in life is just on the other side of fear.
And you feel that most people.
Hold on.
Okay, sorry.
I'll say this. I don't feel anything I know.
Okay, you know.
This is, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm very careful with these words, because religion does this to us. Religion teaches us to believe and to have faith. But this is you can't. This boggles my mind that people don't wake up to this, but I understand it because I was this way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you ever go to a church and they tell you to have faith or believe, like, just run. Because you see, I started thinking these thoughts. This was even before my healing journey began. I started thinking to myself, but wait a minute, hang on a second. I'm being told to believe and have faith in this thing right here.
Blindly, right? Blindly.
Blindly. And then if I was a little boy that was born in the mountains of Afghanistan, I would be told to believe and have faith in something else.
Right.
But my mind wants to be right. So I will speak negatively about them, and they will speak negatively about me. So then that means something's not right. Because as passionate as I am about believing in the thing that I'm being told to believe in, they believe in it as well. Guess what? There's 40 other freaking religions out there that also believe in it as well. So something ain't right. And that's what started my journey to find the truth about God. Because what I started noticing is that all of these religions, what they do is they separate us as human beings. And then I thought to myself, well, then what is separation? Separation is the opposite of love. Because what if love? Love is me loving all 40 of them for who they are, not what they believe. And I thought, I'm out of here. I'm going to go find the truth. So, yeah, I'm going to stay quiet about that.
Well, all right. So just give me a little bit of context on that one. This happened a decade ago. This happened 5 years ago. This happened 2 years ago.
This started 3.5 years ago.
Three and a half years ago. That's when you made your official journey. Like you.
That's when everything began.
Right. And was that a conscious decision? Was the reason for the exit for you to do this? Is that did I say that right? Or
I'll tell you what the trigger was that my mom passed away.
Okay.
Yeah, because most human beings, they won't ever start a healing journey until trauma happens in their life.
Right.
So at that point in time, I was on top of the world. I had a big business. I had a big house. I had, a beautiful family. And yet, brother, I never realized this. I never gave myself the space to be this brutally honest with myself. I was miserable.
Really?
I was 50 to 60 pounds overweight. I was unhappy. I didn't have peace. I couldn't just rest. I was just miserable.
Right.
And that's when my journey started, because it started with asking questions about God, quite frankly. Because here was my mom, my beautiful mom, who went to church every Sunday and gave food to the poor every Wednesday. And I saw her wither away. And when in her mind, when she needed God the most, God, based off of what we're taught in the church, didn't show up, right? And then no one could give me any real answers. Like, I would always hear the pastor tell me things like, well, God works in mysterious ways. And I go, what kind of shit is that?
When it becomes personal, yeah,
man, because you're talking about my mom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, so God helped your little brother heal his like broken ankle or some shit, but he couldn't help my mom with cancer?
Yeah.
What kind of shit? No. And then that's when I started asking myself some really deep questions. Like, am I happy? What is the truth? Why are we all divided? Why do I need all this fancy shit if the reality is that I'm trying to prove to people that don't even know me that I'm something that I'm not? As a matter of fact, who am I? As a matter of fact, what are we? As a matter of fact, what is life? I'm going to warn all of you guys out there, be very careful when you start asking those questions, because that's when you'll really understand the movie The Matrix. And that's where you'll truly understand, listen to me carefully, what it is to take that red pill or that blue pill.
When we I mean, because we all, I'm sure every person that's going to listen to this podcast has their own traumatic event. I call them life events that they go through that pivot them, that make. For you, it became almost like an awakening. For others, some people delve into depression. Other people go the other way, right? Like for you, you flipped it into something super positive, and you're spreading the word, right? You're opening the gates for others. Whereas, unfortunately, and this is not a judgmental call on anybody. It's just sometimes people just don't have the financial ability because they're so off of, and this is a term I came up with the Bronx Borough president, they're so off balance all the time, right? They're off balance because they can't see anything past tomorrow because they're
right.
in scarcity. So
yeah, because they're in survival mode.
Right. So let's talk about that, because I think once you flip the switch, or let me use this one. Once you hit a certain level, right? And you're able to take a second and take a really good look around you, then you start seeing things, right? But when you're in survival mode, all there is was tomorrow, because I'm barely getting by today.
That's right.
Right? So right. For those people, and I'll let you speak after this, I believe religion, and I'm not against religion. I believe, I was raised Catholic. I know all the different religions. I appreciate them all. I believe they all come from a place where they were trying to control whoever their I don't want to say apostles, their constituents were, right? Like they had to give a message and basically, to use the term propaganda, to kind of control the masses, right? I need you to do this, so believe this way, and you'll go to heaven. Do what I say, and tithe. Make sure you drop some money in that basket, right?
You don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can help you. I don't know what's gonna happen.
You're gonna burn.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not talking shit because I was there.
No, absolutely. Listen, I was raised super Catholic in Puerto Rico, church class, every Sunday, put the nice dress shirt on, sit there.
No, and then the best part is when you think like being a Christian is an upgrade, by the way.
Right.
Because that was me.
Okay.
That was me, by the way. I thought I was a little bit better. I had upgraded to the truth.
Yeah,
I had upgraded
I know what's really
out
going
of
on.
Religion into relationship.
Well, let's go back, because I know you have a hard stop. Survival mode and, let's say, thrive mode, right?
Yeah.
Give me those two differentials. For people who hear me talk about it, I'd like somebody else to speak about it, because I truly believe that. Once your mindset shifts, everything shifts.
What would you like to know?
Well, for those that are in survival mode, what is something they could do to maybe just think of things a little more objectively because I believe survival mode is integrated with, victimization. I think they all kind of hang out in the same place. They all kind of have the same friends, kind of give them the same information. And it's easy for me to say, well, change your 5 friends, right? Like I tell people, hey man, I believe.
So does everybody. Look, okay, you're in survival mode right now, and you're listening to me and you're like, damn, this is making sense. What do I do? Okay. Number one, and I want everybody to I'm going to give you guys 2 seconds. Go grab a pen and a piece of paper. I'm going to teach you some things here real fast. Okay. All right, here we go. Number one, you accept responsibility. The number one thing that you can do to start changing your life is to realize, please listen to me. You're going to hate me right now. Is to realize that it ain't fucking Donald Trump's fault. It ain't the president's fault. It's not the white man's fault. It's not where you were born. It's not because you were you grew up on welfare. It's not because of anything. Because I'm here looking at you, dark skin, on welfare. I was born in the ghetto. I couldn't afford food. So I'm your same story. So I'm the mirror for what could potentially happen to you. So if you're willing to listen to me, I can help you with some steps. Number one is accept responsibility. Even if that feels uncomfortable, because by the way, I know that I'm conscious of the fact that for most people in most neighborhoods, you are fed this stuff. You were literally force-fed this stuff since you were a little kid. It couldn't possibly be us. It has to be their fault. It has to be the rich man's fault. You have to hate the rich. But then you're hating the one thing that you could become, so you're never going to become it. You see, that's by program. That's what darkness wants. So the first thing is you got to understand personal responsibility. The second thing is you have to let go. You have to let go of every story that you so deeply believe, because that story is what is keeping you exactly where you're at in your life right now. Whether it's a story that you can't make it because of your neighborhood. And by the way, you have all of the proof. You could grab me by the hand right now and you could bring me into your neighborhood and you can go, yeah, pero Danny, mira esto, y mira lo otro, and look at this, and look at that. And I'll just sit there going like this and I'll go, move. But all my negative family and all my negative friends, and look at over here and look at over here. And I'll just go, stop talking to them. And I'll go, yeah, and you'll go, but my job doesn't pay me, and my boss is an asshole, and they're so mean to me, and I'll go, quit and get a new one. See, that's when the matrix starts to fall apart. Mm-hmm. Because the brain doesn't know what to do with the reality is that there could be potentially another way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that means that you have to let go.
It's like you said, fear. It's fear.
We're going to say that is scary.
Yeah.
That is the scariest thing for a human being to do, because it's all they know. It's all they know. I'm here to tell you with love, that as long as you have the courage to let go of all of the programming, that there is another way. There is another way, right? The third thing you have to do is start to dream. Start to dream. Just start to put pen to paper and start to, in these three categories, right? In your money, in your relationship, in your body. Those are the three energies of human mastery, right? If you had the perfect outcome, how much would you earn per year? Oh, but that's impossible. Can you just trust me and listen to what I'm telling you to do? See, I already know. I work with so many people. I already know what the ego is saying.
Right.
Just listen to me and can you just write down, okay, $100,000 a year. Perfect. Beautiful. And what would it feel like to earn that? It would feel great. Beautiful. And what would you like to do to earn that kind of money? Well, I'd like to do this, and this, and this. See, this is where you start tapping into the resonance of who you really are as a human being. Right? Perfect. What would you want your relationship to look like? Which, by the way, if you want some help on what you want your relationship to look like, just open your eyes and look at all of the relationships around you. And you're going to see that 9 out of 10 of them are unhappy. So here's what I used to do. I just used to go, I don't want to be like that. 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 I want to be like that. And describe it. What does that look like to you? What about that is attractive to you? Normally, when you see relationships like that, there's like this vibe, this connection, this joy, this like happiness that has people together. So describe that and start to write that out, right? And then number 3, your body. I used to be 50 pounds overweight. And you know why I was 50 pounds overweight? And this is the honest to God truth, is because I had a story in my head that all Latinos were fat.
Really?
True story. Don't ask me where it came from, but it's just what I believed. Because I just remember growing up, man, we'd sit down for dinners and we'd have plates that were like that full, and like the rice was like
most of it
falling off the damn plate, and there was like canola oil all over the damn rice, and there'd be like, and then you'd finish that plate, and like your grandmother would want to give you more food, right?
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, maybe I'm fat because I eat a lot. There's a thought, Danny. Maybe the victim story that you've been buying into your whole life, maybe it's just you. Maybe. And that one was like, oh my God. Right? And so then you start to write out what you want your health to look like and to feel like. By the way, you want an example and you want help on this? Go look at everyone around you and go look at how they live in their bodies. Go look at how lethargic they are, how lacking of energy they are, how big their panzas are all over their waist. Just go look. You just go look. Mm-hmm. You're going to look at the matrix is what you're going to see. You're going to look at the results of the matrix. And then you get to just decide, I don't want to be like that. So you just use your God-given power to manifest, to envision, and to declare what it is that you want without attachment of when it's going to happen or how long it's going to take you or how you're going to do it. That's not up to you. That's not up to you, right? That's the mind. The mind has to know and wants to know, right? No, you get to just tap into your true essence and go, God, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I want a different life. And I'm willing to give up A, B, and C, and D for it. And I'm willing to have faith. I'm willing to have faith in me, have faith in you. I'm willing to matter of fact, I don't even know you yet or what you are. They tell me you're a guy, but you can't possibly be a guy because I come from a mother and a father and everything is masculine and feminine. So I'll deal with that one a little bit later. But God, we'll I just want a different life. I want a different life, and I'm open to it, and I'm open to receiving it. And I'm going to do my best part to move past the fear, even when I feel uncomfortable. And when I get knocked down, I'm just going to get back up, and I'm just going to keep going because this dude sent me this message on this podcast, and like everything he said was like, it was just speaking to me. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be truth. There's got to be truth in it, because if he can do it, I can do it, because there's nothing different from him and me, because ultimately we're all the same. And then you just start meditating on it every single day and start visualizing your life like that. And then it comes.
Listen, I know you have a hard stop in a few seconds, but the one thing I want to say is that, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I believe in what you're saying. The only thing I'd add is that obviously there's accountability to it, meaning if you want to lose weight, but you can't stop eating the rice, it's not going to happen. So like, you got to take the steps, and you got to be self-aware and also honest, right? Like, if you're saying, oh, I've been doing it for like 2 days, my man, it took you how many years to get here where you are. So it's going to take a little time, but it's worth it. At the end, you're worth it. And second of all, when you're coaching people, what you to me describe as manifestation, right? And manifestation to me is a great thing as long as you're aware of there's steps that need to take place to get there. It's not just meditating. I'm not disagreeing with meditation, but there's also affirmative action that has to take place. Like meditate, sure. Yeah. And I just want to make sure we say that, because people be like, "Oh, I just meditated for 2 months, Danny. What's good?" What's good? No.
Because you got to understand what happens when you're meditating and you're envisioning. You see, the way you think now causes you to act the way you act. And so then when you have a new vision and you meditate on that vision, guess what's going to happen? It's going to cause you to change the way you act.
Change behavior patterns.
Right. So that's going to change your habits. It's going to change your work. It's going to change so forth and so on. Right. Like, Louis, I'll give you a perfect example.
Yeah.
If you look on my social media, for my birthday, I was the leanest I had ever been. I didn't have a 6-pack. I had a freaking 8-pack. Okay. Right. I weighed 147 pounds. At my highest, I was 197.
Wow.
Right. And then I fell in love.
Just to give context, how tall were you?
5'8".
5'8". So at 190, that's heavy, because that's like me at 270. At 6'3", right. Yeah, you can carry more weight. It looks fine, but you're bigger. But
yeah.
It's fucking heavy. Yeah.
Very important, right?
Yeah.
So, which, by the way, for all of you men, you want a 6-pack. That just think 5'8", 147, 148. That'll get you there. Because for years I thought 160 and I'll have a 6-pack. No, you gotta lose some
20 pounds more.
You gotta lose some fat, right? Anyways, so I weighed myself. I fell in love, bro.
Congrats.
I met my dream woman.
Congrats.
Thank you. I took her to Italy. We drove around in a convertible for 2 weeks.
You hung out.
Had all the food. I actually had some wine. I just didn't care. And then guess what happened?
You gained a little weight.
6 months later, I was doing the same shit. So, because that's what love does to you, right?
Yeah.
And so then I woke up one day, and this was just yesterday. I weighed myself, and I was like, okay, I'm 163 right now. Mm-hmm. And I thought, all right, I don't want to get to 147 again, because that was like my face was like
drawn. Yeah.
Right. But if I'm going to get to 153, and I know realistically what I have to do now. Mm-hmm. So then you start envisioning what you want. And every morning I wake up and I envision it. And then I just start to little by little change my habits, which for some people is like easy. Right. For me, when it comes to food, I'll be honest, it's a little hard for me.
Okay.
Right. So then I will do what I do, and then I'll assess and I go, damn it, I messed up today in this area. And I go, it's okay. Don't worry. Tomorrow will be a better day. And that's it, bro. I don't beat myself up, and I just one day at a time until it just becomes a habit.
People get stuck sometimes, and
I gotta go. I'm
all right. So listen, thank you very much, Danny. We'll talk soon. If you ever need me for anything, you know how to get me.
Yeah, for everybody, if this struck a chord and you want to start your process of healing and awakening, I invite you to join me at my event, Awaken. It's a 3-day event. You will transform your lives. It's more powerful than 10 years of therapy. It's going to take you deep into your subconscious mind. It's going to open your heart, and it's going to heal some things that you've been holding on to your entire life that you're not even aware of right now.
Is that held every month, every 3 months?
We're going to have four of them this year.
Every
The
quarter.
next one is
Okay.
March 23rd to 25th
In Texas?
in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And if they use the code Lewis, they get how much off? $100 off, like 20% off.
All right. All right. You might see me over there in March. You never know.
Honest to God, you should come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That will take it to the next level. So listen, thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.